Hello everyone, welcome to A Clear Perspective. I'm Serene. Twitter, Facebook, Google, and other big tech companies continue to ban the accounts of ex-President Trump. President Trump has condemned these big tech companies. Senator Cruz also warns of the dangers of these woke companies. He said in an interview with Fox News in April.
Seen the rise of the woke corporations. We've seen giant companies readily enlisting to be the enforcers of Democrats and the extreme left remaining in power.
He urged the Republicans to stand firm and reject funding from these entities. Senator Josh Hawley proposed breaking up big tech and revamping antitrust laws amid this year of the woke corporation. Cruz mentioned that he wrote an opinion review for the Wall Street Journal about big tech and woke companies. He also promised that he won't take any money from them. He said, "In my 9 years in the Senate, I've received $2.6 million in contributions from corporate political action committees. Starting today, I no longer accept money from any corporate PAC. I urge my GOP colleagues at all levels to do the same." Patrick Byrne, former CEO of Overstock, said in the end of March that it is possible Trump could be back in the White House by the fall. This saying is really shocking. The reason he said this may be related to the ballot audit. The highly publicized Arizona ballot audit has come out with some important data. Many hope President Trump might have a chance to reverse the election outcome in Arizona. Michigan attorney Matt DiParno filed a new report in the ongoing Antrim County 2020 election lawsuit. According to DiParno, his team was able to prove that the voting machines were easy to compromise, and it was easy to flip the votes from one candidate to another. His team of experts showed how to do the vote transfer and easily bypass the voting machine's security protocol. DiParno demonstrated that because the vote numbers inside the election management system can be manipulated to match the flip done on the machine, the auditors wouldn't know that the numbers had been reversed. The number of votes on tabulated tapes would match the number of ballots casted, but the outcome was flipped. The court filings allege that for 9 out of 16 precincts in Antrim County, votes flipped from the independent candidate Joe Jorgensen to Trump, then flipped again to Biden. On April 9th, DiParno released the Michigan Elections Forensic Report and stated that 66,194 unregistered ballots were found in 9 counties. That's 66,194 ballots voter IDs not found in the October registration database. This kind of evidence is expected to be presented in swing states one by one, and the truth will be made public. But I am not very optimistic on whether this will allow Trump to return to the White House before the 2024 election. After all, the left is still very powerful. In fact, we can see that it is not only in the United States where the left dominates free speech. The cancel culture has spread to all over the world. It only serves to protect far-left ideologies and suppress conservative or religious thinking. A couple days ago, there was a news report about a pastor in the UK who was arrested for preaching that marriage is the union between a man and a woman. These are the kind of things happening in free democratic countries. A 71-year-old pastor being forced off a podium and handcuffed simply for speaking his viewpoint. Local police say they received complaints that the pastor, John Sherwood, made bigoted and homophobic remarks. One caller even labeled his words as abusive and insulting. It was because of this that he was arrested and detained overnight under the Vague Public Order Act. The pastor of 35 years was released without charge. However, he is still under investigation and may be charged in the future. He said, "I wasn't making any homophobic comments. I was just defining marriage as a relationship between a man and a woman. I was only saying what the Bible says. I wasn't wanting to hurt anyone or cause offense. I was doing what my job description says, which is to preach the gospel in open air as well as in a church building. When the police approached me, I explained that I was exercising my religious liberty and my conscience. I was forcibly pulled down from the steps and suffered some injury to my wrist and to my elbow. I do believe I was treated shamefully. It should never have happened. In 2010, another Christian pastor was arrested for preaching that homosexuality is a sin. Furthermore, in 2017, a preacher was locked up and charged with hate crime for quoting the Bible to a gay teenager. A few months ago, a pastor was threatened for offending the LGBT community. This is an infringement on free speech. A country should not have the right to prohibit certain religious texts. Such actions remind us of the brutal persecution of Christianity during the ancient Roman Empire, as well as the Cultural Revolution in China. Although it is not that extreme yet, if we continue down this road, religious freedom will no longer exist. People of faith will be discriminated against. On Easter this year in Calgary, Canada, 6 officers and an AHS inspector were driven out of the church by a pastor. The pastor, Arthur Pawlowski, shouted at the officers to leave and called them Nazis. He also told them to not come back without a search warrant. Because of the pandemic, government have imposed numerous restrictions, some of which include travel restrictions. For example, to enter Canada, you must take a COVID test and quarantine yourself in a hotel until you get your results. Afterwards, you have to quarantine for 8 days in your own house. Fines can be as high as $100,000 for violations, and you may be incarcerated for up to 4 years. For the people in the free world, losing our life to the virus may not be the most frightening thing in comparison with losing our rights. I hope these are just fears and that the government will soon cancel those restrictions. What are your views on this? Please comment your thoughts below. Speaking of the pandemic, it seems like more and more people are considering the Wuhan lab as the origin of COVID. According to a tweet by the AFP news agency, President Jair Bolsonaro said, "The novel coronavirus may have been made in a laboratory to wage biological warfare." He also said, "COVID is a new virus. Nobody knows whether it was born in a laboratory or because a human ate some animal they shouldn't have." He continued, "But the military knows all about chemical, biological, and radiological warfare. Would we be fighting a new war? I wonder which country's GDP has grown the most." There is a clear implication here. COVID was created in a laboratory in China as a bioweapon against the world, and China's GDP outgrown all other nations because of the pandemic. Since the outbreak in Wuhan, the only country in the G20 to experience a growth in GDP is China, with a growth of about 2.3%. This was mainly brought about by other countries relying on the healthcare sector of the CCP. Some of you may remember that on April 27th, over a week ago, Brazil's Minister of Economy, Paulo Guedes, said that the Chinese invented the virus, and the vaccine made by the CCP are less effective than those of the US. Although Brazil's Ministry of Health quickly removed the video, Paulo Guedes himself has not retracted the statement, nor has he apologized. Even though Brazil ordered more than 100 million doses of the Chinese vaccine, however, the number of cases in Brazil is still quite high. As of May 6, the total number of people infected exceeded 15 million, with 417,000 total deaths. I think the medical cooperation between Brazil and the CCP has been a total failure, costing Brazilians deaths and damage to the economy. I think this is also the reason why Brazil decided to voice their concerns. Lastly, we would like to remind our viewers again that our platform may be restricted on social media. We would like to recommend the YouMaker platform to everyone. Our videos are available on YouMaker. Please subscribe, and we hope to see you there. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.